أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. We give thanks to Almighty Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Today we will continue from where we stopped yesterday, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, on what has to do with Sifaat. And Bismillah, yesterday we were taking the attributes that has opposites. So the attributes that has opposites. So now we have al-Raqa, we have al-Hams, which was the one that I explained yesterday. So now we have the opposites, which is al-Jahru, 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 which is the opposite of al-Hamsu, al-Hamsu, al-Hamsu. Now al-Jahr, what does that mean? As it's on the screen, it means audibility, audibility. And in this instance, one thing you should know is that the flow of the air is trapped. That is, air does not flow with the letter. And this is because the scholars have said that the reason why the air does not flow is because of the strength of its makhraj, of its origin, where the alphabet is coming from. So air does not flow when it comes to the alphabet that has to do with al-jahr, which is the opposite of al-hams. So, and this has to do with, yesterday we said the alphabets of al-hams are 10, which are فحثه شخص سكت فحثه شخص سكت فح ف ها شين صاد خا سين كاف and ta. Those are the 10 alphabets of al-hams. Now the opposite, which is al-jar, are all other alphabets. All other alphabets they have the, apart from فحفه شخص سكت, those 10 alphabets, all other alphabets has the quality, as the sifa of al-jahr. And you're going to get it now. Just the same way you did yesterday, I explained yesterday. Let's put your hand closer to let it be close to your mouth, and then you say Jim, Jim. Say Jim, Jim. Jim is not from the alphabet of فحفه شخص سكت. That is the alphabet of Al-Hams. Now say Jim, Jim. Now, okay, say Fa, 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 Fa. If you should pronounce your Fa correctly, or your Shin or your Sod, you will notice the air flows out. But in the case of Jim, 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 Qaf, 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 Lam, 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 and all other alphabets. Of course, there are some alphabets you are going to notice maybe there's a kind of airflow. Maybe you feel it in your hand. Well, it's there. Yes, it can happen like that sometimes, and you get the pronunciation correctly, and that's because of the breath. And you notice that the air, it will not be significant as that of those 10 alphabets of Huruful Hams. But if you should notice that you are give the air is significant, and just like that of Huruful Hams, then you should know that you are not pronouncing the alphabet correctly. You are not pronouncing the alphabet correctly. So That's one of the Sifaat. The that that's one that's one of the pairs of Sifaat. And now let's move to another pair. We have another pair which are ashiddatu. The ashiddatu. Ashiddatu. While its opposite is arrakhawatu. 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 Ashidda and arrakhawa. They are the one thing as the scholars have said they are of the second pair. Ashidda and arrakhawa. One thing is that about as of for this pair, there is another one that the scholars do not wish to count among the numbers of course it's a kind of quality on its own. It's a stiffer. But the scholars do call they used to explain it together. It has to do with this pair, but it falls in the middle. We have one of the pairs is ashidda, and we have arrakhawa, and now we have another one within. Ashidda is strength, arrakhawa is weakness, and the one within is atawassutu. Atawassutu. Atawassutu as it's on the screen, and that is moderation. Of course, it's just it's used to be referred to as one pair, but this is just at the meaning. And you can choose for you to get it better. Then you can choose to say, okay, atawassutu is, but just know that it falls within a pair, and the pair is ashidda and arrakhawa, and we have at explain that as well. It has his explanation. It falls at the middle of this pair. And now ashidda, what does that has to do with this that we are explaining? And this you should know that this first thing you should know about this pair is that it has to do with the flowing of sound. It has to do with the flowing of sound in the makhraj. It is the articulation point. Ashidda in when it has to do with ashidda, the alphabet of ashidda imprison it imprisons the sound of the letter. That is the sound. Let me think of a way to explain this better. It imprisons, or let me use the word, it traps the flow of the sound. It traps the flow of the sound of the alphabet due to the complete reliance on the air point. Because the alphabet completely relies on the air point. And the alphabets of these, for example, the alphabets of these alphabets is of these parts of this ashidda is hamza, jim, dal, qaf, ta, ba, kaf, and ta. أجد قط بكت. أجد قط بكت. أجد قط بكت. One thing you will notice about this alphabet is that once you want to pronounce it correctly, you are going to you are going to go straight to its makhraj. You are going straight into its makhraj while pronouncing it. For example, let's give an example so I get this better. تأتيهم تأتيهم تأتيهم. Or let's use this verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-A'raf verse 97. Allah says, أف أفأمن أهل القرى أن يأتيهم أن يأتيهم. It's the same thing when it's asked Fatah Duma, but I'm using this aspect of so that I get it better. أفأمن أهل القرى أن يأتيهم أن ي أن ي ي ي ي ي. You notice I'm pronouncing Hamza. So I said ي ي أن يأتيهم بأسنا ب ب ب ب. You notice I just move straight to it, the articulation part of Hamza, and I left immediately. And you notice when you pronounce Hamza correctly, there's going to be a kind of stopping or a kind of gap before you move to the next alphabet. You can't just join. You can't just move to the next alphabet easily. You notice a kind of stop, a little stop. F F F من أهل أفأمن أهل القرى أن يأتي أن يأتيهم أن ي ي ي. So that is that about that. When it comes to the pronunciation of any of these alphabets, or Allah the Messiah says, أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوبهم أقو أقفالها أقو أقو. You notice I have to stop on that off. And that out when it's when, or another example is تحبسونهم, as Allah said in Surah Al-Ma'idah. There are a lot of examples in the Quran, and I think this that we've cited is sufficient. By the time you practice with any of these alphabets and you pronounce it correctly, you should guess it better. Bidnillah. And the opposite of ashidda, it's arrakhawa. It's arrakhawa, which means weakness. So when it comes to arrakhawa, there will be a kind of flow of sound during the pronunciation. So there will be a kind of flow of sound during the pronunciation. The flowing of the sound is due to the weakness in the reliance of the air point. So, and that is the case when we are, I think, let's use this, you should get it better. غير المغضوب عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم. So that is that. You notice it's not as if I'm saying it's quite different from يأتيهم or أقفالها or تحبسوا. Ha is not from the alphabet of in this example, this last example, I'm emphasizing on ba. تحبسون تحبي. You just have to stop a little bit. Quite different, and that's the opposite is al-rakhawa. Everything we've said in ashidda, the opposite is al-rakhawa. And the alphabet of al-rakhawa is any other alphabet apart from Now let me explain the one that falls in the middle. The ones that falls in the middle. And that's when we'll be able to mention the alphabet of al. The one I said it falls in the middle is at-tawassut. At-tawassut, which is moderation. In this aspect of at-tawassut, when it falls within ashidda and al. When it comes to at-tawassut, the sound emerges, but it does not flow. The sound emerges, but it does not flow. So that is I think that's the brief explanation that has to do with atawas, which falls in the middle. So it's a little bit when there will be a little gap. There's going to be a little gap, a little gap. You will notice there's a kind of a gap as well when it comes to atawasut, and it has five alphabets. It has five alphabets, as the scholars have said. Lin Umar, Lin Umar, Lin Umar, Lam, Nun, Ain, and Mim, and Ra. Those are the five alphabets of At-Tawassut. And we've explained the alphabets of these are the alphabets of Ashidda, which are Ajid, Qit, in bucket. These Ajid, Qit, bucket. These are the eight alphabets of Ashidda. And we have five alphabets of At-Tawassut. And all other alphabets belongs to Ar-Rakhawa. All other alphabets, apart from these five and the other eight, belongs to Ar-Rakhawa. Belongs to Ar-Rakhawa. And I think it's very good. I will stop here for today. So I pray Allah makes it easy, and I pray Allah grants every one of us better understanding of His word. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار وسلم تسليما كثيرا. الله وبركاته.